Hello and welcome everyone back to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. My name is Bird Bouchard, and along with me is my brother, Mitch Bouchard. And guys, playoff baseball is here. We're so excited, Mitch and I. Of course, both growing up in baseball family, we love baseball. But guys, how can we be Red Cape Sports and not talk about arguably the hottest name in baseball right now in Randy Arozarena? And I know, Mitch, you and I, we were kind of going back and forth saying, man, this kid's got a hot swing. But we both noticed something particular about Randy that in terms of investors, you know, you might not want to jump the gun, so to speak. So can you kind of speak to that?
Well, it's definitely the one thing that you and I actually agree with. We don't always agree on everything.
That's true.
But one thing I had mentioned to you is, you know, why is everybody talking about him now and wanting to buy his cards? Only because he's hot right now and in a very big topic. But nobody was talking about him at the scale that they are now, you know, before the playoffs. So that's going to be even an argument right now. Like, you've had his stats before. You could see what he was doing. He is simply hot right now. He is, to take nothing away from him, maybe this could be a long-term thing. We don't know. But my guess is he is in a hot streak. If you know baseball, the next guy to really get a hit for sure is going to be a guy that is 0 for 9 because he's due to get a hit. In baseball, if you're 5 for 5, you're pretty much due to not get a hit. So there's something about baseball is that he's going to hit a slump eventually.
Oh, for sure.
And he will eventually fade away. That's going to be my prediction. I think he's just very hot right now. There's a lot of attention with him because his team has made it to the World Series. Mm-hmm. So not to put him down, but
of course
be aware, to be conscious. Look at his stats. Batting about, 280 before, and then it suddenly went up to, 400, 500, whatever it is now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like the thing about Randy Arozarena is that he caught fire at the right time, certainly. And, of course, both Mitch and I, we're not trying to take anything away from him. He's got a beautiful swing. As a St. Louis Cardinal fan, I was kind of disappointed that he was kind of the key piece in the Cardinals getting the trade for prospect Matt Lobatori, who, of course, I think he's going to be a stud. But when it comes to Randy Arozarena, I think you hit the nail on the head there. He's young, but he just caught fire at the right time. And I mean, if we look at his stats, like you said, because these numbers never lie, the one thing that pops off to me is this is a very, very, very small sample size. We both know in baseball, the game is like 99% mental, right? All it takes is really one bad game, and then you kind of go off, and then one hot game, and you can start to go off. And the reason why I mention that is because that's exactly what happened to Randy. 280, I mean, of course, it's not terrible, but it's also not the greatest. And we got to only look back 2 seasons ago, Mitch, where we see the World Series MVP and a guy named Steve Pearce. Most of these viewers watching more than likely have no idea who Steve Pearce is. Well, let me tell you, he's a career 250. That's what he batted in his lifetime, 250, and he only had 91 career home runs. If you invest in a guy like that, you're done. Now, mind you, he did win the World Series MVP at the age of 35, and I'm looking at it here. He only played 1 season after that. But my point is, baseball is such a game of catching fire at the right time, and it's very likely that Randy Arozarena is not going to continue this trend.
What I was going to say, though, is and definitely a different aspect of a player, because I would have recommended buying his card before, is Cody Bellinger. He wasn't before that home run he hit in Game 7. He wasn't as hot at that time. After he hit that home run, things changed for him. That's just kind of like the reality of it, right? Obviously, a bigger time player. Definitely, you could have justified why you're buying his card beforehand. All around, just a great player, but you get into hot streaks, you're going to get into slumps. Tatis was hot, then faded away too. You could argue that.
Yeah.
And those are big names, right? Bellinger, Tatis. Again, I hope he does good. you could definitely. I definitely wouldn't sell his card if you have it, but to say to just buy his card now,
Yeah.
hoping he's the next big thing, that's where it could be a little crazy, right? Could it be a good flip? Probably, right? Like you
No, for
never
sure.
know. If he hits 2 more home runs, he's going to really solidify his spot for having the most postseason home runs, and it's going to be hard to compete. Also, look at the pitches that he was hitting too. You're talking about pitches that are left over the plate. Same thing with Bellinger. When he hit that home run, I mean, I know this as a pitcher, if you throw a fastball or a crappy cutter that's over the plate, of course they're going to crush it. These are MLB hitters. Look at the last home run he hit. I believe it was a cutter right over the plate. So that was his 8th home run. So it's something to kind of note.
Absolutely.
Who are the pitchers that you're facing, right? That all plays a role. So again, I think he's great. He could be popping off, but there's also a lot of attention. So emotion,
I mean, definitely. I'm actually really glad that you mentioned that. It's exactly that, right? It's the fact that in the playoffs, right, you're starting to compete against teams in, 3-game series, 5-game series, and even 7-game series. So you're starting to potentially see the same pitchers time and time and again. And it's the same statistic. I don't know the exact number, but I know for a fact that the Chicago White Sox this year absolutely mashed against left-handed pitching. Right, and a bunch of friends of mine were wondering in that game 1 in the wild card, well, why would they pitch a guy like Jesus Luzardo? And you know what? I gotta admit, I was wrong, because the stat said, they just clobbered him. And there's a lot of analytics that go into this, but most notably, I think Randy Arozarena, and the reason for his success is he's just seeing a lot of the same pitchers, and eventually it's going to fade. But on to my next point. The fact that he plays right now in Tampa Bay, and prior to this season, there was so much conversation saying, is Tampa Bay even going to actually continue to remain in Tampa Bay? I know here in Canada, there's a lot of us kind of lobbying for the Montreal Expos to make a return, and there's a lot of rumors, specifically with Montreal's mayor, saying, hey, you know what? We'll welcome them in. We want the Expos back. So what do you think, A, is going to happen, and B, do you think his cards can even see more of an uptick in price right now if he remains in a market like Tampa?
Well, to be honest, I think just based on what he's done, I think his cards are going to possibly double. If he maintains what he does, at least for the rest of the series, you could see a huge spike in the next few days. Also because his cards aren't over that $100 mark, right? I mean, what's his PSA 10 going for?
So right now, and that's exactly it. Right now, I wasn't personally able to find a PSA 10, but again, that's because not many people knew who Randy Arozarena was before these playoffs. But as I'm looking at it right here, right now, it looks like his raw, ungraded Topps Chrome is selling for right around anywhere from $30 to even $45. There seems to be a mixture of random prices going on there.
And I think with a lot of new people getting into the hobby, and it's just kind of that whole mindset of, instead of buying a Bellinger for $300, I could buy 10 of these guys for $30. So again, it's going to be an exciting investment opportunity. Easier for people to get his card versus buying a Bellinger high grade card. And that would just be like an example of, who you would probably be buying if you're looking for, to get the heavy hitters right now. Again, it's going to be a thing where you're probably going to see him climb. But my only thing is, obviously be aware that this is probably going to be a phase. That's how I feel. Again, it could change. I don't know. He's still young. He's 25?
So, yeah, he's 25. Now, I do have a quick question for you, though. The fact that you said his card prices are likely going to climb, I mean, we just saw it. He broke the all-time MLB rookie season, rookie in the postseason home run record. But if these card prices tend to rise, should investors be worried that they might eventually buy at the peak?
Yes and no. It really depends on if they win the World Series. That could be a big thing. I mean, it depends on how long you're going to play it, right? Like, sports cards are interesting because, even getting into basketball, that's a big topic right now. A lot of basketball cards have gone down. Like, you're able now to pick up a Luka. You can pick up Zions are extremely cheap. I know people buying Zions. I'm not even just saying that because I'm a Zion fan, but when the season opens up, people are going to be diehard Luka fans, Zion fans. They're going to be into Tatum. Tatum has gotten a lot cheaper because, again, we said Tatum is very expensive, and he was, right?
Yep.
Thousands of dollars for these cards of players who have only been playing for a little bit, and they're not all going to win, which they haven't. LeBron took it. So, Again, the same thing. It depends on how long you're going to hold it. I think it could be a good time to get it, but that's also, you have to take into consideration that he is in a hot streak right now. Wait until pitchers are throwing him better stuff and not leaving stuff over the plate. That's a huge factor. Bellinger in Game 7 wouldn't have been the hero if the pitcher made a better pitch on that pitch. It's just the way it is, right? I mean, the ball is over the plate, and he crushed it. So that's the thing about baseball. It's tough, right? You throw pitches over the plate, and it's not the only reason. It's not to take anything away from him. It's just there are streaks. There's a thing about opportunities, right? It's very hard to, for new quarterbacks like we were talking about. It's really hard to be a good-looking quarterback or win games when your defense isn't helping, right? You have to – it helps when you have good opportunities, too, in sports, right? So,
yeah, certainly. So that's basically going to do it for, Randy Arozarena, guys. But like we mentioned previously, we just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and opinions. Do you guys think Randy Arozarena is currently a good buy? Do you think he's going to be, the next Mike Trout? I know it sounds crazy, but there's just so many people saying you got to buy Randy Arozarena. He's going to be the next Trout. And me personally,
what do you think?
I say pump the brakes. I say this guy hasn't even played 100 MLB games, and I say the hype is real. So if you have his card, of course you can play the waiting game a bit, but I wouldn't wait too long. And I'm not just saying that because the St. Louis Cardinals traded him away. I'm saying that because the sample size is really, really small. And if you can profit off Randy Arozarena's historic postseason, I would recommend you do it. And a guy just like that, I think that's a guy who's got a much larger sample size than a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr. And, he might be a better guy to buy. I think a guy like Bo Bichette currently is a better guy to buy. Still hitting 300 even though he was injured. He was absolutely mashing balls as well. So, at the end of the day, do your research and, maybe look at a sample size that's at least 50 games.
Yeah, another thing I was going to say too is the reason I like guys like what you were saying is, Tatis and other Bo Bichette, other exciting players, they're not 100% dependent on how they do in one series. It didn't change much for them. Obviously, when Tatis did the bat flip, it's a big deal. But he's also an incredible shortstop. He can throw the ball. Bichette has the hair. They have other swag. That their swag is amazing. The fact that they're on, he's on the Blue Jays and whatnot. They have so many things going for them that just doesn't have to do with just a hot streak. Whereas he blew up because of this World Series attention and hot streak. And again, if he hits and if he performs, sure, man, like he could go like crazy. But my guess is that he will eventually die down and he'll go back to normal or what he was doing before. And if that does happen, then don't be holding him long, in my opinion.
So another quick thing that I want to mention about this guy is the sample size is really small. I mean, you look at what he's done throughout the regular season, Mitch. He's just played 42 games. That's it, 42 games. So if you hop over on baseballreference.com and if you look at what he would be averaging in a regular 162-game season, well, okay, you look at home runs and you might be blown away. 31 home runs. But what is he averaging for RBIs? 50. And that's just not going to cut it. That's just not investable. And again, it's very likely that this guy might be better than Louis Robert. He might be better than, the next big player. He might be better than Tatis or whoever it might be. And I'm not saying he's going to, but let's just pump the brakes here. That's all I'm saying. Me and you, we both grew up playing baseball, and we know you have a great tournament, right? We all grow up playing baseball. We have these great tournaments. But does it stick? I don't know.
Not only that, but that's a good point. The fact that he hasn't played, the fact that he got 3 hits per game within 3 or 4 games, his average went from about 300 all the way to 400 or 500 within 3 or 4 games. So if you were to take out those games, you know what I mean, and judge him by the whole year, if he had a 162 game season, would he be able to sustain that? I don't think so. Right?
Yeah, that's just
point.
It.
The point is he's in a hot streak, and it will burn out. It has to. But if it doesn't, then maybe he is this next big thing. But come on, we have to be realistic. I mean, he could be, but at the same time, again, was Tatis going to get into a hot streak and get a bat flip home run every day? That's not going to happen. He's not going to take 3-0 pitches and hit home runs oppo every game. He's going to face good pitching. Chapman's going to come in there and throw 110 miles an hour. You don't know what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen.
That's just it, right? At the end of the day, if I were advising people, I obviously, wouldn't be taking out a mortgage and throwing it on this guy.
Would you buy him to flip him, though? If you were considering buying him,
it's too late
knowing
now.
that you would flip it, would you do it or no?
I think it's too late. And it's almost
I'm not buying him. I don't own any. So...
and I don't either, full transparency.
Yeah,
but I also think it's the same
this.
thing as right before the playoffs saying, buy Cody Bellinger, right? I wouldn't necessarily tell people to do that because everyone else is going to be saying buy Cody Bellinger, and you might get him at the peak. Now, if you were buying Randy prior to the playoffs, you were probably doing really well. But if I were to buy him right now while everyone's talking about him, while he's breaking all these rookie records, I'm afraid that I'm going to buy at the peak. And I say it time and time and time again here at Red Cape Sports. It's so important to know why card prices go up and why they go down. And I'm telling you all, his card prices are going up over the hype and the success that he's having. But when he's no longer relevant, they're going to go down. They just are. I mean, look at a guy like Bo Bichette, right? Bo Bichette had a hell of a season. He only played a handful of games, basically the same situation last season. Obviously, he didn't play enough where he's a rookie right now in 2020. And then he got injured and his card prices went down. And I mean, I speak of him because I'm a firm believer in him, but I'm sure right now during playoffs, you're not hearing the name Bo Bichette very often.
Well, it is funny because, I don't usually do flip cards, but I did buy LeBron James when I felt like he was going to win eventually. So before that, the final game happened with Miami, I picked up an extra one. But when playoffs started and I felt like Lakers were going to win after their first playoff game, I was like, I need to get LeBron. But that's also because he's got so much to back it up and so much future potential to back it up. He's solidifying himself as something that is legendary, whereas somebody's solidifying themselves as having a good playoff run and probably won't even win the World Series anyways. So, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of personally, I wouldn't buy him. But if you were buying him about a month ago, then you were just a mad genius. So.
Absolutely. It really does come down to what time did you get in. And I think right now, after Game 3 and the Dodgers are currently up 2-1, and again, like I said, even if he wins a World Series, I don't think we see that big of an uptick. I mean, I don't know how many people in Tampa Bay even care about baseball. It's not to knock on them. It's just a reality. All right, guys, you heard it here first over at Red Cape Sports. Randy Arozarena, hell of a talent, but maybe don't hold on to his cards for too long. All right, guys, take care.